Hi guys, I'm Ivory. Fancy seeing you here. Today I'm going to be comparing two blushes from the same brand, which is Elf. I'm going to be comparing the Elf Primer Infused Blush to the newest Elf Putty Blush. This one is a powder product, and from what I remember, it has that little stamp next to it that says Allure award-winning makeup product. And this is a cream. I know it says putty, but to me, that's not the right definition. When you touch it, it feels like a balm. It does not feel like a putty. Elf keeps using the word putty, but I don't think they know what that really means. Like the ColourPop Super Shock ones, these feel like putty to me because when I press it, there's a squish to it. I feel some type of joy when I touch this. Whereas when I touch the Elf one, there is absolutely no squish. And look at my face. Do you see any joy? Exactly. This isn't a putty. You know what? I'm just gonna look this up real quick. What does putty feel like? Okay, I'm getting searches of silly putty. That's not the same thing. But even silly putty, I know for a fact, is squishy. All I'm trying to say is this formula is not putty, okay? You can argue with me about it, but I just don't think it's a putty formula. I'm going to be comparing these two on either side of my face. I will say right now, I have tried both of these several times and I actually do like both of them. So if you were interested in either of them, I'm telling you right now, I recommend them. It's just I haven't compared them side by side. So that's what this video is. So I'm just going to apply them side by side. And then I'm also going to do a little bit of a wear test with them because if you're anything like me, blush is one of the first things that fades on my face. So I usually apply a lot of blush knowing that it's going to fade because my face just eats it up. I'm first going in with the primer infused blush. By the way, both of these cost $6. So there's no price difference between the two. And I'm going to use a brush and just dip into it. I didn't necessarily clean this brush. I kind of just rubbed it vigorously to get any residual powder. But as gross as it sounds, I don't really wash my blush brushes. I feel like a blush brush is kind of like a cast iron skillet. All the colors that get mixed into here, it just seasons the brush and just creates a great color. You know, you get some of this color from Elf, you get another color from Wet n Wild, you get a little bit of ColourPop thrown in there. So it just creates a unique blush color. But I did wipe away most of what was already on here. And also, even though my base is down, I have not set my face yet. And as someone who has tried the putty blush multiple times, I will tell you right now, do not set your face and then apply this because this will wipe away your base. Obviously, because the primer infused one is a powder blush, you can set your face, but I just, to keep it equal, both sides of my face are not set yet, which is why my concealer is creasing quite a bit. And I'm gonna go quite heavy today with the blush because I want to be able to see it and see what fades. In case I didn't say what color this is Always Rosy. And then the putty blush is Turks and Caicos. Now, like I said, I tried this multiple ways, and in my experience, you know, makeup is very personal to everyone. The best way that I applied this is with my face unset. Not even my under eye is set because sometimes the powder will fall a little bit lower, and then when the cream blush mixes with that powder, it would ruin my base. So just don't set anything. And I used a duo fiber brush. Now a duo fiber has its duo, two different hairs. Some of them are short, some of them are long. I would dip into this and then I would apply this. You could also use your finger. I think that works okay too. I feel like using a duo fiber and my finger, you get somewhat of the same result. It doesn't ruin the base. However, this one, I feel like I have a little bit more control and it's a little bit faster. And I've tried using a regular brush, like say if I use my regular blush brush, and it just doesn't apply it the same way. I get these brush strokes. It prefers to stick on the brush versus my actual face, and it just doesn't blend the same way. And with cream blushes, you do have to apply them differently. You don't want to be swiping. You want to be stippling like this. And another thing about this formula is it does take longer to apply the blush, and you also tend to use more product. Whenever I use a cream blush, they go way faster than a powder blush. Like for example, my ColourPop one, the Super Shock, I can already see I hit pan, and I haven't used this that much, but I do have to use quite a bit of product to get how much I want on my cheeks. Whereas my powder blushes, I rarely, if ever, hit pan. Like for this blush, it's a powder and I hit pan, but it took me over a year. And this is a sample size from Ipsy's. So that just goes to show you how little you need when you use a powder. Okay, am I overdoing this? I really love blush in general. So without even thinking about it, I'll just keep going and going. All right, so just a reminder, this is the putty side, this is the powder side. This side is a little bit more matte. This is a matte blush. And putting it directly on top of my foundation, it kind of just, it like sets the face. Whereas this side, there is a little bit more life to it. It has a healthy sheen to it. And what I love about the putty blush is that when you touch it, it doesn't feel tacky. I personally don't like that tacky feeling. That's a big reason why I stray away from cream products. Even if they do work well on me, I just don't like the feeling of that. But this one, you don't feel any tackiness. It just feels like skin. So I really like how healthy this looks, and I love the fact that I can touch this and it doesn't feel sticky, tacky, nothing like that. All right, and then now that my blush is on, I'm gonna go ahead and set my face. Let me blend out my concealer one more time, because this side, I don't know why, I only have creases on this under eye, and then this eye is totally fine. But I have to fix that first before I set my face, because why would I want to set in the creases? And then I'm gonna go in with my Charlotte Tilbury, and I'm just gonna set my under eyes. And this has a nice yellow undertone, so I don't get any type of white cast. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of bronzer. I already added it to my forehead, but not my cheeks, because I didn't want to do anything that would sabotage the cream product. The blush is the star of the show in this video, so I wanted to make sure that I got that down perfect before I apply my other makeup. And I'm just gonna lightly bronze and sculpt. And then I'm also gonna highlight all of the products that I am using, including like my eye makeup. All of this will be listed in the description box. So if you were curious, you could just look there. All right, so my makeup's done. I did want to talk a little bit more about the products. So the primer infused one doesn't say how much product is in there, but the Elf one says 0.35 ounces. But I'll look this up and I'll put it on the screen so that you guys can compare how much product you get for each one, because they are the same price. From a head-on perspective, they look nice, but if you turn to the side, you can see this side is the powder side. And yes, I went heavy on the blush today. Well, I go heavy every day, but today I especially made a point to go heavy. I personally like this. Like I said, I love blush. I love overdoing the blush, especially at the beginning, because I know my face eats it. And you can see initially that it looks obvious that I'm wearing blush, you know, like it's sitting on top. Whereas on this side, I applied a ton, but I do feel like it looks more natural. I mean, natural, I clearly don't know what that word means because it's obvious I'm wearing blush, but I feel like it's sunk into the skin a little bit better. It looks a little bit more skin-like than I would say this side. This side looks just a little bit more makeup-y. It's just whatever vibe you're going for, you know what I mean? But I do feel like this is nicer for an everyday. But then again, it's very easy to achieve this with this side by just applying way less than I did. Another thing I'm gonna say is that the putty one, I already said it, but I'm gonna reiterate, it takes more work to apply this, and there's definitely a technique to it. And there's more thinking that needs to go into applying a cream product. If you're the type of person, you know, when I was very oily, I knew right away as soon as I put on my base, I had to set my entire face. If you wanna apply this blush, you have to actively undo that mindset and have to think, okay, I just put on my foundation and my concealer. Now is when I apply my blush, because now that you're used to doing your makeup in a certain order and then to switch steps, it's very easy to forget. And if you remember later on, oh, I already set my face, I'm gonna just apply the blush anyways, I don't think it's gonna look very good, because like I said, I've tried setting my face and then putting on the blush and it completely ruined the base underneath. Foundation was rubbing off and it was just disturbing everything around it. So there is a little bit more thinking that has to go into a cream product, whereas a powder one, it's more flexible. You could do it before you set, after you set, it doesn't really matter. And also, like I said, this will last you way longer than this. So just some things to decide when you're thinking about which one you want to purchase. But that is it for now. I'm gonna wear this for a couple hours, probably not as long as I usually do a foundation wear test, like 10 hours, but I'll wear it for a good amount of time. So I will see you in a little bit. All right, so I've only been wearing my makeup for about 3 hours, but I did want to show you what it looked like in natural lighting. I always try to include natural lighting when possible, just because I think a lot of people appreciate it. Just a reminder, this is the powder side, this is the putty side. You can see that the putty side just looks a little bit more realistic. In natural lighting, this looks quite harsh. Now, keep in mind, I did go heavy on the blush today. Not that it's any different from any other day. And I also want to take into account that the powder side, the color is darker, so it's going to show up more on my skin. But even so, I do feel like powder blushes in general are easier to build up. Whereas this side, I was able to build it up, but not as much as I could with the powder. And I really went into that container multiple times to stipple on the blush. So layering with the putty blush isn't as easy as the powder, but I still really like this side. I think it's wearing very well. It definitely looks more incorporated into my skin, but I still think that both are nice. I'll check in a couple more hours and give my final thoughts then. All right, so I've been wearing the foundation for did I say foundation? This is a blush review. You can tell I'm only used to doing wear tests for foundation, so let's back it up. Blush. The blush has been on for about 8 hours now. This is the putty side. You can see that a lot of it has faded. I don't know if you can tell, but right here, just only right here, there's a missing patch of blush. Like everywhere is pink, 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 and then right here, it's foundation. It's bizarre. I feel like this is the first time I've ever seen that, but maybe I just wasn't looking for it. Whereas this side, this is the Elf Primer Infused one, and it did fade like I anticipated, but it's still holding on pretty strong. When I look at the putty side, it is broken up a little bit. The most noticeable thing is that patch patch of blush missing in the center that I already pointed out, but this side looks pretty good. There's no patchy issues of any kind. So as far as wear time, I do feel like the putty one does fade a little bit more, but it's still very nice looking. But it's pretty clear to me that the powder one, it does stay better and it looks less disturbed too. As far as which one I prefer, like I said, I like both of these. I've tried both of these several times, but that being said, I do feel like the primer infused one is a little bit more user friendly. Whether your foundation is set or not, it's pretty foolproof. It's very easy to build up. It will last longer than the putty one. On the other side, one of the things I really liked about the putty blush is how skin-like it looks. You know, this kind of looks, maybe because I applied too much, I don't know, but I do feel like even though both sides I applied a lot of blush, this side looks a little bit heavy-handed, whereas this side, even though I applied a lot, it doesn't look like that as much as this side. One of the nice things about the putty blush is that you're less likely to overdo it. There definitely is a learning curve to putty blushes, but when you do get it, I mean, I love the finish of it. I love how it blended with my foundation. It's not sticky at all like other cream products. This is like a cream to powder formula, but all I'm saying is that the putty blush isn't going to be sticky. Like your hair's not going to be sticking to this. So even though I like both, I do think that the primer infused one is a little bit better only because it lasts a little bit longer. It's a little more user friendly, but if you end up getting this one, I don't think you're going to go wrong either. As long as you follow the steps that I had to do to make this work on you, I still think this is a great product. I mean, my one gripe about this is still that I don't think this is a putty blush. I feel like Christine from Simply Now Logical. You know how she gets really upset when people say that something is holographic when it's just glitter, like silver glitter? I have that type of energy, but my stance is putty. This is just a cream, a balm. It's not a putty, okay? I feel like I should make a petition about this. I feel very strongly about this. Hopefully comparing these two was helpful for you. At the end of the day, I don't think you can go wrong with either one, so just do whatever you want. But that is it for this review. I hope that you enjoyed. And if you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and feel free to comment down below what other types of videos you'd like to see from me. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I'd love to see you come back. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Bye!